We've introduced all the concepts that make up the present middle passive form. We've discussed the reality that the middle passive shares a same form in the present tense, even though its translation may be different. The thing we haven't done yet is we have not given attention to the actual form, the endings that go with it. So we're going to present this in a couple ways. I'm going to put up the endings in the chart. Remember, we've got the master chart that gives us the quadrants. I'm going to put that up. We'll look at it. Then we're going to look at how this one fits into the master chart as he breaks down what makes up each one of the different verb tenses. And then we'll just put up our standard paradigm. So here we go. Let's look at the big chart first. So we're going to draw our quadrant again. In our quadrant, we have secondary endings over here. We have the primary endings. We haven't begun to deal with the secondary yet. We're about to get there, but we're not there yet. This would be the active voice. This is the middle passive voice. All right, so we've already done the top part of this, right? So we know the endings. There's nothing. There's a sigma. There is an iota. This is singular, first person singular, second person singular, third person singular. Okay, now we come down here into the plurals. First person plural is men. The second person plural is te. These are strictly the personal endings. This isn't always what we see on the end of a present active indicative. Sometimes things change because of what's going on. But these endings are important to learn today because they will benefit you later as we get further along. And then the final one is the nse, the nu, sigma, iota. That one changes most dramatically in this one. So how does that end up looking on the end of our primary words? Luo, lues, lue, because we're combining the final or the connecting vowel, which is either omicron or epsilon. All right, and then we come down here and it's amen, eta, and then usi, with the possibility of a movable nu. Okay, so these are the actual endings. These are the way they tend to look on the present active indicative words. Oes a, amen, eta, usi. Now, let's look at what's going to happen in the middle passive forms. So we'll put the endings up first, then we're going to show what they look like. So the endings are my. This one is going to undergo some changes, but the actual ending is psi. All right, we're going to see some real changes from that. All of them are explainable by rules you already know. Tai. Okay. Metha. Sta. Right? So then there's one more, and we've got ntai. All right. So how do these look on a word usually? A normal word like luo. All right. So we've got the connecting vowel goes with it. So it is amai. Now this is the one where you get some change. The S drops out, or the sigma drops out. The alpha and the connecting vowel, which in this case happens to be an epsilon, they contract to an eta, and then the iota subscripts. I know that's a lot going on, but you need to be able to recognize A. Okay? And then etai, that one looks what you would expect it to, with the ending combined with the connecting vowel. All right? Amatha. Estha. Antai. Nothing really significant going on in the plurals. Okay? So just as you need to learn these endings, you need to learn the connecting vowel with it, how that looks. And so it would be luamai, lue, luatai, luamatha, luestha, luantai. So we also now know the easiest way to remember these, and I want you to learn them like this too, but I want you to learn the additional things as well. The oase, amen eta usi. Now in the middle passive, we have amai, atai, amatha, estha, antai. If you can learn those, you're going to be able to do most everything you need to do. Now you have things that happen here, just like you have here with contract vowels. So if you have a contract verb that ends in a vowel, whether it be alpha, epsilon, or omicron, things happen. Now here's the deal. Everything we learned in the last chapter on what happens when you contract things, those exact same things continue to happen just as we learned them. So we could put up agapao, we could put up plerao or poieo as a paradigm for you to look at. You need to know how to do that. Long term, more importantly, you need to be able to recognize those words. But for now, you need to be able to generate those paradigms. But all of those things happen just like we indicated from the last class or the last lecture. So, or a couple lectures ago. So we're not going to put all of those up here. But if you can remember these charts, the actual personal endings, you now have all of the primary endings of the verbs. And you can go through them. Oes a, amen et usi, amai a, atai, amatha estha antai. You do that, you can pretty much do the present tense. That's good news. All right, now let's go from here and let's begin to put it all together as we begin to fill out more fully the chart, the master verb chart that's going to go with each new tense that we learn. So if you remember, we have tense, then we have a segment for augment or reduplication, which he abbreviates redup. Okay, so we go tense, augment or redup, tense, stem. Then we want to go to the question of connecting vowel. This really creates the equation for you on how to make any verb. Okay, that's why we do all this. Personal endings. Which one of the quadrants are you borrowing the endings from? And then finally we put the first person. And we're going to do singular and plural in that on the chart, okay? Well, you know what? We'll just keep it as first person. Sometimes having both helps, but we'll just keep it as singular. All right. So let's review where we've already been. So in the present tense, the present active, we have no reduplication or augment. Our stem is the present tense stem. Our connecting vowels are epsilon or omicron. Our personal endings are the primary, active, and our, let me draw a line so you can keep these straight from the headings to the, okay, primary, active, and then the first one is, the first person singular is luo. All right, now let's look at the next one. This one is present tense, middle passive form. There's no augment or reduplication. It is also built off of the present tense stem. It has the same connecting vowels. It uses differently, though, the secondary. No, it doesn't. It uses the primary, but middle passive. Primary, middle passive endings. And the first person singular is lu amai. Right? So now you've filled in the entire present tense, because you only have two forms to that. You have the present active and the present middle passive. Other tenses may break those down a little bit more, but right here, this is the equation for the entire present indicative verb system. All right, so what's the equation to make a present middle passive? So you do the present tense stem. You add to it the connecting vowel. Connecting vowel. And you add to it the primary middle passive endings. The resultant of that is present middle passive. That's it. Now, the only other thing I want to draw out to you is what we've already addressed. This isn't new, but it's important to remember that if you come across a word and when it's listed as its lexical form, if it's listed with the amai ending. So in the case of a word like erkomai, when you go to the lexicon, you'll never find anything that looks like erko. All you'll ever find in the lexical form is erkomai. When you see that a word in the lexical form, which is always the present active indicative is what it's supposed to be, if you ever see it with an omai ending, that means in the present tense stem, in the present tense, this word is what we call a deponent. Not to confuse it, the Mounce uses both deponent, or I think his more preferred term is middle only. I'm going to ask you for our class, when you parse, instead of putting present active indicative or present middle only, I would like you to put present deponent singular. Okay? Or whatever it would be when you break it out. Make sure when you're parsing, you add the pronoun for the inflected meaning. So if you're parsing, let's say the word luamai, you're going to be first person, present, middle passive, singular, from luo, and it means I am loosed. That's a passive. You've got to translate it. The inflected meaning has to include what all is going on in all of that parsing. So I am loosed, or I'm being loosed, or you could put, if you wanted to do a middle sense, you could say something, I loose myself. Okay? But you've got to somehow reflect that it's a middle passive. If it were the word erchomai, you're going to do first person, singular, present, deponent from erchomai, and it means I come. All right, very good. All right, so that is how you build the form. The only other thing that we didn't put on the board here that you need to pay attention to, make sure you can recognize and generate our primary words that are contract verbs. We know the rules. You can do it all. Everything you've got is here. You just got to know how to do it. So make sure you can also do not only luo, but agapao, poieo, and plerao. Very good. We are moving right along.